Hola clase, ¿cómo están? So for this presentation, we're going to be talking about stem-changing verbs in Spanish, and we're going to be talking about those stem-changing verbs where the E changes to an IE in the stem. So E to IE stem-changing verbs in the present tense in Spanish. Here we go. So again, E to IE. Stem-changing verbs are also known as boot verbs, and we call them boot verbs because we can draw a boot in the conjugation tables around the forms that have the stem change, and you'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute. So a very common E to IE stem-changing verb is the verb querer, which means to want or to love. And notice when we conjugate the verb querer, first of all, that the regular ER endings are the same. So you'll notice that OS, A, amos, ACE, N are the same ER endings that we've seen before. Okay, so nothing changes there. But what does change is the stem. Okay, so the stem of the verb is changing, and it's changing from an E to an IE in the yo form, in the tú form, in the él, ella, usted form, and in the ellos, ustedes form. Okay, it's not changing, notice, in the nosotros form or the vosotros form. So when we have our chart written out here, we can draw what looks like a boot around the forms of the verb that have the stem change. Okay, and again, it's the E in the stem changing to an IE in all of these forms. All of these forms except for the nosotros and the vosotros. That's why we call them boot verbs. Okay, muy bien. So once you change the E to an IE, again, just as I mentioned previously, you just add the appropriate endings, and the appropriate endings are going to be the same. Okay, so for AR, IR, ER verbs in the present tense, the endings don't change. It's the stem that changes in stem-changing verbs. So if you need a refresher, here we have the AR endings. Okay, o, amos, as, or o, as, a, amos, ais, an. The ER endings, o, es, e, emos, es, en. And finally, the IR endings, o, es, e, imos, is, en. Muy bien, so let's take a look at a few examples of E to IE stem-changing verbs. So the first one is cerrar. Cerrar, that means to close, in the infinitive, cerrar. And if I were to conjugate that in the yo form, it would be yo cierro, and that means I close. Okay? So for example, I close the door. Yo cierro la puerta. So this is an E to an IE stem changer, and it's inside the boot. The yo form is inside the boot. So notice the E is changing to an IE there. It would be incorrect to say yo cerro. That's incorrect, right? It's yo cierro. Muy bien. Okay, next example, empezar. Empezar means to begin or to start. If I conjugate empezar in the tú form, again, tú is inside the boot, right? So I'm having to change this E to an IE, and that would be tú empiezas, and that would be you begin or you start. Okay, next verb is pensar. Pensar means to think. Pensar, to think. Ella piensa would be she thinks. So again, it's inside the boot. The ella form is inside the boot, so the E is changing to an IE. It's a regular AR verb. It's the she, or the he, she, third person singular form, okay, doing the action. So the ending is still going to be a, right? Ella piensa, she thinks. Perder. Perder means to lose. Perder. Nosotros perdemos. So notice now we're conjugating the verb in the nosotros form. The nosotros form is outside of the boot. That means that we don't have the stem change. The E is not changing here. So it's nosotros perdemos. Notice, again, we do not have the stem change. Preferir means to prefer. Preferir. Vosotros preferís. Okay, vosotros is that other form that's outside of the boot. So that means that we are not seeing the stem change here. Okay, and it's just vosotros preferís. No IE stem change there. Entender means to understand. Entender. And here we have ellos doing the action. That means they. That's inside the boot again, right? So that means that we're going to have to change the E to an IE. So ellos entienden would be they understand. Okay, next one is mentir. Mentir. Mentir means to lie. So here, ustedes is again inside the boot. So we have the stem change. So E is changing to an IE. Ustedes mienten would be you all lie. Okay, muy bien. So those are our E to IE stem changing verbs in the present tense. I hope you enjoyed y gracias, clase. Muy bien. Hasta la próxima.